Hello, and welcome to another iClone 7 Academy tutorial. Today's topic will be creating morphs in Character Creator and animating them in iClone. By the time you're done with this tutorial, you'll be able to do something like this. Notice as she arches her back, she becomes more muscular, and as she bends her arm or flexes her arms become bigger. Alright, so how did we do this? Let me show you. Let's start off with a fresh character here, so without any morphs. So let's go ahead and delete her from the scene and bring her back fresh off the iClone factory. So let's go ahead and pull the character into the scene. Okay, there she is. Let's start that up. Okay, so now that we have her over here, the next thing we are going to do is send her to a Character Creator. So let's do so. Let's go send, edit in Character Creator. Okay, so now we're going to close there and we want to load project. Okay, now that we have her in, let's go ahead and go to the Morph tab over here. And next we're going to select Body. The first thing we're going to do is make her muscular. So let's look for a slider that will make her fit. So let's see, we go down the sliders. There are quite a few sliders. Let's select Body to isolate even more the available morphs. And let's go ahead and find the slider for fitness. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the slider all the way up so she looks a little more muscular, more fit. Next, I'm going to select the head. And for the head, I'm going to give her a little bit of a bigger chin when she morphs up. So let's see. Let's select the round face a little bit. So her jaw becomes a little bit bigger. Not too big. Just a little bit bigger. Okay, that's it. So now if we go in here to currently used, you will see what I've used here, which sliders I have used. Okay, so after that, let's go ahead and save her as a new export iAvatar, not as an OBJ or an FBX. It has to be in this format. So let's go iAvatar, export, and let's go ahead and export her. And we're going to call her Avatar Body Strong. I already have this. So let's go ahead and just override over this one, save, and say OK. Alright, so now let's go ahead and reset this. Notice that when I reset this, and I go to, for example, favorites and go back up, and currently used is zeroed out. It doesn't have any morphs whatsoever. This is the state we want to do to create the next morph. Otherwise, things become additive. So, and what you want to do is you want to create that additive feature inside iClone, not in here. Otherwise, it will basically double what you already have. So let's go ahead and let's make the arms bigger this time. So let's go to arms, and I'm going to make the shoulders a little bit bigger, not too much, just a little bit bigger. The upper arms size, I'm going to make it as big as they will go. And then the forearms, I'm going to go just a little bit bigger, not too much. And then I'm going to make the hands a little bit bigger as well. So let's select the hands. And let's go ahead and control the hand thickness. So we can do that. Oh, one thing you should watch out is try to use sliders that do not move the bones when you move the sliders. So one cool trick that you can do is go to edit, post editing, and they will show you the skeleton. So now let's take a look at the if you take a look at the hand here, you will notice that when I go hand thickness, the bones are not moving, it's just the mesh. So this is a cool trick to make sure that you are just using sliders that deform the mesh and not the bones. If you move the bones, it's not going to break anything terribly bad. This is only when you save this as an OBJ and take it somewhere else into another package. But if you do this and you take it into iClone afterwards, it's just going to ignore the bone scale. So just to let you know what would happen if you do use a slider with that, okay? Okay, so we have that already. And this is pretty much what we want. So I'm going to go ahead and save this again as export iAvatar. And click on export there. And I am going to go ahead and call it Avatar Strong Arms. And save. Okay. So now let's go back into iClone. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into my animation tab and send her to Morph Creator. So let's go ahead and open up Morph Creator. Okay, let's open this up all the way. All right, so let's bring in those morphs. I'm going to click on this plus sign over here and go to the proper folder here. And inside over here, actually, let's go to my tree. Documents, resolution, template. Now I went to template, save it in templates, so I could keep separated from other special morphs that I created. However, usually you want to save them into custom, not template, when you do a specialized morph for a character. And obviously, the more organized you are, the better. So in here, I'm going to go ahead and under characters. Over there, let's go to characters, and here we got morphs right here. All right, so there they are. They are the morphs. So we'll load the body first. Open. Okay. So now let me open the tree here so you can see the correlation of everything that's happening here. Because when you save an iAvatar with morphs, it doesn't only save the body mesh, but also the clothing as well. So it's basically a multi-mesh export that you're doing from character creator and bringing them into the morph creator. So let's go ahead and I will show you what's going on here. Notice that if I go body strong, okay, if I move the top one, only the body is going to scale, okay? So, and not the clothing. So, and notice also that if I select the dress, for example, which is this part, if I move the slider, it's only scaling the just the tan top. Okay, so what we want to do is synchronize the sliders so they all move at the same time. Also notice we also not only have clothing but hair as well. And in this particular morph, the hair does move. So this is something we definitely want to keep as well. Because otherwise, if we don't move the hair, it's going to penetrate, the hair is going to penetrate into the skin and the clothing. So what do we do here? Okay, this is what you have to do. So first, we make sure that all the sliders are moved to 100% morph. So in here, we have hair mesh, so we do want that one at 100%. High heels. Let's see, I don't think high heels has any actual morphing happening when we move it. So let's test it out. See, when we move the slider, nothing happens down there. So this is something that we can actually remove from the overall morphing that we're going to create. So you have less sliders and less things to worry about. So let's go ahead and delete that one because this one is not useful at all. So next what we're going to do is get the dress set up to 100%. And then we're going to go body strong for the low-rise shorts, for the shorts. So we're scaling the shorts. And next we're going to do, of course, the body. All right. So notice now that we have everything set to 100%. And what we're going to do now is a process of baking all the sliders into one slider. So let's click on bake. Let's call this body, strong body. Strong shift body. All right. And we want to do is click on this checkbox called remove source sliders upon creation. So this way we have less sliders to worry about. And go create. All right, so now you will notice that now when we move a slider, the main slider, all the parts, all the extra meshes will morph along with it. And even if you select like the shorts, for example, notice that when I move the slider, it still moves everything else with it because they're all linked together. All right, so one thing now that you have this set up, if you click on this checkbox over here, show child morphs, and uncheck it, notice that you end up with only just one slider, and that's what we want. We want to simplify the UI so when we take it into iClone, we have a cleaner animation. All right, so now that we have this and they're all set to 0, let's go ahead and bring the next morph, which was the arms. All right, so what we're going to do here for the arms, let's go ahead and move the arms. Notice that the only thing that is getting intersection is just the tan top. So let's go ahead and find those sliders here for the tan top so that we can adjust that. Now let's take a look at the hair. Let's see if the hair actually moves when we move the strong arms slider. Notice that there is really no motion whatsoever happening there. So this is one that we can actually remove. So let's go ahead and delete that for the hair. Okay. But notice we're still keeping the body strong one for the hair. So that's correct. Next, let's take a look at the dress. The dress definitely is intersecting with the body. So let's go ahead and under strong arms, let's move the slider 100%. And then for the shorts, there is no slider when we export it because the only two things that were affected was basically these two things. And the hair was so minimal that we didn't even need that. So we're pretty much good here. So let's go ahead and create a bake here. Make sure all the other sliders are set to 0. Otherwise, it will save that as part of the morph. And we don't want that. We just want the arms to become bigger when we do this. So let's go ahead and create bake. And we are going to call this strong arms. Okay. And also let's make sure that this is checked on, which it is, and create. All right, so let's test this out. Now we have our arms and we have our strong body morph as well. So notice that they actually do compound, so they are additive. So notice this goes this big for the arms, but when you add the arm strong morph, it adds on top of the fitness morph that we created for the body strong, the strong body. So this is how we can multiply the morphs or add up the morphs to create an even bigger, more buffer, more muscular body. All right, so now that we're ready with that, and again, notice that all the pieces are linked. So if I move the dress has both sliders, both for the body and for the arms as well. So all the sliders are there. And now we're ready to go into iClone. And what we're going to do is we are going to add the animation for her where she does that body arching and then the muscle flexing. So let's go into our avatar motions and custom actually, and go to motions, and there is her motion. So there she is, she's arching her back. Notice there is no morphs whatsoever happening here. Okay, like so. Great. Alright, so now let's add those morphs in here. Now I'm going to go back into Morph Creator, and I'm going to say update morph to iClone. However, look what happens when I do this. It gives me a message saying not all meshes of the linked sliders have been selected. So this means that only I had this selected, and it's warning me, do I really want to do this, or do I want to do this with the entire character? I want to do this with the entire character, not just that mesh. So let's go ahead and select the top node where all of the parts are selected, and let's go ahead and click on update this time. Alright, so let's go ahead, go back into iClone. Great. And now let's go to Morph Animator to make sure that all the shapes, all the two morphs that we have are there. Notice we have extra sliders here, but if you click uncheck the show child morphs, you only have 2 sliders. Okay, so now we are ready to animate. So let's go ahead and open up the timeline. Make sure that we have her inside the timeline selected. So let's go ahead and click on her. Okay. Next thing we want to do is let's go ahead and open up inside our animation tab, Morph Animator. So this stays open, so we can move the sliders as we move on the time inside the timeline. And let's go ahead and in here we are going to open up the morph track. All right. So if you scroll down, you will notice that now we have the 2 sliders in here under morphs. So you have full control over that. Also notice that inside the tree, the scene tree here, you can also still, even though they're hidden, you can still access the morph sliders for those particular pieces of geometry. However, since they're all synced, you really don't need to do that. So let's go ahead and go back to her and make sure we have just her morphs available right now. Alright, so let's go to the beginning of our animation here, which starts at frame 200. And I'm going to go ahead and shrink this down by pressing Alt on my mouse wheel, so we can see the full track going on here, so we can scrub. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set a first set of keyframes in here. And to do that for the morphs, you just click on default key. So now that just created 2 morphs at 0 here. So there is no morph whatsoever right now. So next what we want to do here is, as she crosses her arms before she arches it back, we're going to set another set of keyframes there at 0. And then when she pushes back like so, we're going to have her use the strong body morph first, like so. And then we are going to, actually what we should do also is make sure that set another keyframe, but this time for the arms, and we want to keep it at 0. So one cool way to just just add a keyframe there is just move the slider to a little bit and then move it back to 0, and that creates that extra keyframe for us. So now we're going to slide this even further, and we are going to set another set of keyframes here before she flexes her arm. So we set another set of keyframes there. So let's go ahead and do the same trick for this one and the same trick for that one. So they're both staying at 100 and this one at 0. So as she flexes her arm here, all the way up, like so, about there, she is going to get her arms bigger, more muscular. And then she's gonna go ahead, and as she loosens her arm, let's go ahead and move that arm slightly down. And then as she flexes both arms up, let's go ahead all the way there, okay? And let's go to 100% again. So, and then she's staring at her hand. All right, so let's take a look at how that looks. So she's standing still, she arches it back, she becomes more muscular, and then as she flexes one arm, both arms become stronger. And then she loosens the arm, and then it becomes strong again. All right, this is basically the whole thing, and it's pretty simple, right? Now, as you get more sophisticated with and you learn these basics, you'll be able to do something along these lines. What you're seeing here is the same animation. I just took the time to create more sliders so the morphs are a little more sequential instead of all at the same time. So basically I started off with morphing first the shoulders, see how they get bigger first, then the biceps, then the forearms, then the hand, back to the forearms, back to the bicep, back to the shoulders. So you get this ripple effect as she arches. And then what I did is also create a specialized morph where I can target single muscles. If you're interested in learning how to do this, please leave a comment below. And if we have enough people wanting another tutorial on how to do this, we'll go ahead and make one for you, okay? So don't forget to voice out this if you're really interested in how to make this happen. Also, of course, here, part of the animation is when she puts her hands on her hips, out goes the belly. Now, you will notice there is a little breakup over here. I will show you a couple of tricks on how to get rid of that, okay? So this is it. And if for some reason you would like to save the motion with the morphs, you can always go ahead and do what is called a collect clip function. Use the function to save everything at once. So basically what you do is you drag your mouse all the way across the entire animation, like so. All right. And then you right click on it and go to Motion Plus at Motion Plus Library. Make sure you have morphs checked in, so that will save your morph as well as the animation you have in there. So I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to call it Flexing 2, for example. So let's go ahead and call it Flexing 2. All right. Okay, so once it's all done, I can go ahead and select her. I'm going to go to the first frame, and I'm going to remove all animation, so there is nothing left in here. And I'm going to go ahead and just even remove this frames, because these keys do not need to be here at all. And I'm going to go ahead and select, go to all the way to the first frame of this animation, and I'm going to go into Content, Motion. Actually, it's inside Template, sorry. Let's go ahead and go in here, select Motion Plus, and it's called Flexing 2. So let's bring this in. This will result in overwriting, which is fine. We don't care about that. And notice that there she is. The whole motion is there, including the morphs. So if for some reason you want to keep morphs with motion, this is the way to do it. And that is it. This is the end of our tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you on the next one. Until then, have a good night.